joining us right now on the line. Certainly happy to have Cedric Crear joining us, City Councilman right here in Las Vegas. Councilman Crear, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Cedric?
It's our pleasure, fellas. How are you guys doing?
Outstanding.
Doing good. Let me start from square one with you, Councilman. What was the first, as an African-American man yourself, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you saw this video?
Oh, I was disgusted. I mean, I was absolutely speechless about what we saw. I have two daughters. One's 20, one's 15. It'll be 16 this month. And they saw it, and then, you know, the questions start arising, right? And not only within my house, but then outside of the community about how could this possibly happen, and, you know, with just the callousness and the nonchalant that you saw on the face of that officer was just appalling. And then it hits deep. And as a black man in our society, it hurts. And it's unfortunate. So you go through a mix of emotions. You do go through the you know, being pissed off to being saddened. You think about his family. You think about the community, and then afterwards, as a councilman, I go into councilman mode, and we got to figure out how we do not make this happen again.
Yeah, I well said, Councilman. I completely agree with you. And listen, I'm not African American. I don't know what it's like to have to, you know, be scared when there's a police officer behind me and be scared for my life. Do you have that same sentiment? And I think as a whole, police officers do a good job. But I know this has been going on for hundreds of years. Have you had any situations in your life, Councilman, where you believe you were the victim of police brutality or harassment?
Well, look, I'm not going to say police brutality, but as a black man growing up, of course, you know, I've been stopped for whatever reason. You know, I got pulled over, and the first person the cop says is this your car? Right, as if me driving a nice car, it can't be mine.
Right.
You know, instead of him saying, hey, how are you? You know, you were speeding. Can we? You know, I'd like to see your license and registration. The first thing out of his mouth is this your car? I have been, you know, thrown Coke bottles at when I played when I was in college in North Carolina. I've been called the N-word plenty of times. So I don't think that there's a black person in this country that hasn't faced that. And so you take all those emotions, and then how do you manage that? You know, this goes back, and I hope people understand this. This isn't just today about George Floyd. I mean, it goes back centuries and decades. I had the opportunity to travel to Ghana and to go to the slave castles in Ghana, and you see the dungeons, and you walk through the passage of no return, and you understand that this is where that's coming from. It's very deep rooted. But then you continue to see these things happen, right? Ahmaud Arbery is jogging down the street not too long ago, and two people, father and son, basically murder him. And you see those things. Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, Sean Bell, Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, Amadou Diallo. The list is long. And the challenge that I think that we have is that justice needs to be served. Yep. And I think people are committing these crimes, and we see it. They're videotaped. And it seems like they get arrested, and they go through a trial, and then they get off. Those are the type of things that frustrates our community even more. How is that possible? I'm not an attorney, right? I'm not the district attorney, but you ask yourself, Brian and JD, you saw the same video.
Yeah.
It seems like this should be an open shut case, right?
It should be, and I don't.
Of course.
And Cedric,
you know
let me be honest.
You have this,
you're right.
And Cedric, I think that 99.999% of the country agrees with you on that.
I agree.
Well, here's what I think. Councilman, let me bring up a couple things, and I agree with everything you said. And by the way, let me just say I am embarrassed and saddened that you've had to go through that you've been called the N-word in your life.
Sure.
There's no place for that in society, and I'm sorry you've had to go through all that stuff. I think, and maybe you could agree or disagree with me on this one, I think we need body camera mandatory, 24/7, audio and video on every officer. If they turn it off, they're suspended. No questions asked. It has to be on 24/7. Now, why? As you know, as a councilman, you worry a lot about money, and rightfully so. This will also save money for the police department if you've got a bunch of good cops. Because as you know, there's a lot of fabulous lawsuits going out there. If you go to the body camera footage, if an officer does his job, there's going to be no lawsuit and payout. Why have we not gotten to the point where these body cameras are only voluntary, number one? And number two, don't you think that would be a really good first step universal?
Well, yeah, look, there's a lot of politics that goes along in that. There's a lot of, party lines, I think, that goes along with that. But I will say this, and more so than I think in the past, you have seen law enforcement come out with the murder of George Floyd against their own peer to say, hey, this was wrong. I mean, look, Sheriff Lombardo came out and said, this is not the way that we train our officers. This is not the way that we do things across the nation as well as here in Las Vegas. But it's those rogue individuals that tarnish the badge that gives all officers a bad name. And it's unfortunate. You sort of, this happened with an officer, but this happens in society every day, every week, not including officers. And I think that the majority of the officers out there are looking to protect and serve, looking to get home to their families, and looking to be good community citizens in our society. But when there are those that basically go off the rails, they need to be held accountable. And I think that will help along with the video because, look, this isn't new. It's just being videotaped. Okay, and so we need to capture more of those incidents when it's not in the national forefront. I mean, if you look at Ahmaud Arbery, there's video for that. He was killed on February the 23rd, and they didn't arrest people until May.
Yeah, it's insane.
What is up with that?
You are so right.
Happen?
No, I could not agree with you more. And if there wasn't video, we wouldn't be talking about it because nobody would be in jail. Will Smith said it best. Will Smith said it best when he said the other day what you're talking about, Councilman. He said, it's not that we have more racism now. Nothing has changed. Just now we're being videotaped. I mean, that's where we're at now. Let me ask you this. And if you're just joining us again, City Councilman Cedric Crear. I think there are some very intelligent people on both sides of this issue, people that want change, are politicians, police officers, and protesters. I think there are some really good people that want change. But I think what's being covered in the media is the ignorant people. And what I mean by that is this. I'll start with the police officers. Those 4 police officers, I would call them more than ignorant. I would call them murderers. Some of the ignorant police officers in society, I don't think it's the majority. I'm sure you would agree with me. I think there are ignorant people that are rioting. There are ignorant people that are in these protests that are just trying to cause trouble. They're trying to burn down buildings. And I think there are some ignorant politicians out there that are not talking about the systemic racism. All they want to do is talk about the looting. I think we need to get these ignorant people out so that we can get these smart, intelligent protesters, the smart police officers, the smart politicians like yourself to actually make change. I think that is the real issue right now, is that there's so many idiots out there that are not doing the right thing, not behaving properly, and it's hurting the intelligent people from actually making change in this country.
Yeah, well, of course, right? You get one bad cop and all the cops are bad. You get one bad politician in my field and all politicians are bad. You get a couple bad protesters, then it tears up the entire movement of what it's trying to be. I was born and raised in this community, right? And I haven't seen anybody in my community, young, old, that are looking to go out and loot and riot and burn up the city. And I know that people in my community are completely and totally frustrated. They're at their wits' end in terms of why does this continue to happen? When is it going to stop? But there are those people out there that are not trying to do betterment for the city. There's no need for you to break into a Louis Vuitton store and steal handbags, and it has nothing to do with George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery and trying to recognize their memory. Your intention is to go out and loot and rob and steal. You had that intention before George Floyd was killed, and so they're taking advantage of this opportunity to go out and to do that. You've seen a lot of videos and you've seen people, and I've heard a lot of people say to those that are tagging, that are robbing and stealing, they're saying, hey, this is not us. This is not where we're about. You need to stop doing that. And if you look at the flyers that are going out that talk about the protests, many of them say peaceful protest. But there are people that have been brought in from outside of the city and outside the state to go into these different jurisdictions, and their sole job is to wreak havoc.
Yeah, and Governor Sisolak, when he was speaking in Reno over the weekend, he said basically very similar to what you said, and I couldn't agree with both of you more. There are, just like Ferguson, just like the LA riots, there are people that have the right cause and they're doing the right things, and then there are some bad actors out there that are ruining it. So what is your take from a local perspective? I went to the Black Lives Matter protest on Saturday night. It looked very peaceful to me, and then I leave, and then I hear 15 minutes later there's tear gas being thrown at protesters. There's a couple local businesses that were broken into. It's really sad to me because I thought the majority of the people there were doing a great job. It was a peaceful protest, and then all of a sudden havoc broke loose after I left there. What do you make of some of these Las Vegas protests? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, look, I don't think that those are Las Vegans. I don't think that the people that burned City Hall in Reno are true citizens of the North. I think they've been brought in to wreak havoc, right? There's why are you throwing frozen water bottles at cops and rocks and tagging buildings? That's not going to solve anything. I get the fact that we're frustrated. I get the fact that we're at our wits' end. I get the fact that we're saying we have been calm, we have peacefully protested, and nothing seems to change. But I still believe that things have changed. Things have progressed. You look back even when Rodney King in 1991 was beaten on video and those 4 cops got off. We have come a long ways, and I think Las Vegas come a long ways. There's a lot of community organization. There's a lot of dialogue with Metro Police. There's a lot of dialogue with the Attorney General and the governor and local officials like myself, and we are cognizant of it. There was a time where they would take it would be a Friday night, going out to the town square and watching black people get lynched or burned, right? That was a sort of a rite of passage. And so we have come a long ways. It's just the challenge is that we have so far to go. And if we can provide justice for our community, that would be a great first step. People have to go to jail, and they have to be sentenced accordingly, and they have to serve their time for the crimes that they have committed. And it goes to those other cops, those other 3 cops who are sitting there witnessing that. They need to be arrested. They need to be charged. And instead, they are not. And so you ask yourself why. If it was if it was me, Brian, you, JD, whomever that committed that crime, they would have locked us up. And we'd be sitting in jail trying to make bail and trying to figure out our next steps.
Agree.
That's
100%.
a fact.
Yep.
One thing I've been pretty critical of Governor Sisolak as far as how he handled the lockdown, et cetera. But I really think he did a great job of getting the National Guard involved and the SWAT team involved and really protecting the Las Vegas Strip, considering the fact that we're opening back up on the 4th, and we know how important gaming is to our economy. Do you agree with that? Were you really impressed with how quickly Governor Sisolak acted to prevent this from kind of getting out of hand?
I do. I've known the governor for probably 15 years. We were colleagues on the Board of Regents, and I know him as an individual, and I know him as a person, and I know where his heart is. He cares about Las Vegas. He cares about Reno. He cares about the entire state. I know that many disagree about the timing of the reopening and the closures of the pandemic, but I can guarantee you that it's not because of the fact that he doesn't want to get us open and get us in the right direction. And it's not the fact that he doesn't want to do everything he possibly can to ensure that we have peace throughout our entire state. I saw him yesterday down at Reno City Hall, and, he's engaged. We do need to engage the National Guard because we had some people coming there who were domestically wreaking havoc, and we can't have it. People have the right to protest, but they do not have the right to tear down another person's home or business and to burn up our communities. That's just not right.
No question. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, Councilman Crear, let me just say, keep up the great work. We really do appreciate you coming on, always do, and your perspective. Keep up the great work. Let's hope everybody stays safe. And thank you so much for your time, Councilman. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Look, and thank you for bridging this subject matter. I mean, it's not easy, right? Subject matters are never easy, but I appreciate you guys bringing it up, whether you agree or not. I just really believe that, and I apologize for going longer, but no matter what your color of your skin is, what your political persuasion is, your religious beliefs, you all feel our pain. pain, and I think that everybody wants
no question
a resolution to this. So thank you guys very much.
No question. Thank you, Councilman.
Absolutely. Thanks
Really
a lot,
appreciate you. There's a guy that I am really happy that represents our community. Really intelligent, well-spoken guy, and he's done a lot of good things for Las Vegas. That's City Councilman Cedric Crear.